Is it a goal of yours to be published in a magazine or even on the cover, maybe even win a photo contest? Let me help you with image selection that led me to winning Canadian Photographer of the Year with Canadian Geographic 2025. Is this you sitting at the computer, frustrated, trying to figure out what image to select? I have 4 important key factors I go by when I'm selecting images for contests and magazines: compositions, lighting, image quality, and how unique is your image. So one of the key factors I look for when I'm selecting images for contests and magazine is my composition. And the main one for me is my backgrounds. Sometimes my background is more important than the subject itself. So I'm always trying to find good background separation between the subject and the background. I want a nice clean background with no distractions. When I'm processing my images with cropping, I always try to leave as much negative space as possible around my subject, and this allows editors to add text for a possible cover image or a layout within the magazine that will allow the editors to add text as well. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your images. Make sure you have a nice clean background with no distractions. The second most important factor I take into consideration when looking at my images for magazines and contests is lighting. What is the lighting conditions like outside? For me personally, this is probably one of the most important factors I take into consideration before I head out looking for wildlife or landscapes. I really try to avoid shooting in harsh, bright, direct sunlight. It just creates too much contrast and makes wildlife look pretty unflattering. Instead, I like to be out early morning and late afternoon to early evenings when the light is softer on those bright sunny days. Overcast days are one of my favorite days to go out. The light is even, everything looks natural. A good example of that is like bald eagles in direct sunlight. You'll get the white head will be blown out and then the brown body will be dark. Same with black bears. You get those sunny days on the black fur and it's kind of shiny looking. Doesn't really look natural. So I really enjoy the cloudy overcast days, which we get a lot here on Vancouver Island. So I don't have to really worry too much about direct sunlight. But yeah, lighting is extremely important to me for a natural, well-balanced looking image. The third factor I take into consideration while selecting images for magazines and contests is the image quality. Magazines don't want a soft, grainy, blurry image. The judges will just pass by it and they'll move on to the next one. When I'm out in the field, I'm always trying to produce a clean, crisp, clear image every time I'm out. However, it doesn't always happen. I'm not perfect, just like everybody else, and I do get blurry photos and grainy photos, etc. But I just choose not to share those ones. I always try to share my best photos. But I always look at things when I'm in the field, like my ISO. Am I locking good focus on my subject? Is my exposure good? How's my post-processing? What's the finished product look like? Process it just a little bit. Try your best to get the settings right in the camera while you're out in the field, and then minimal post-processing when you get home. So when you're submitting your photos to magazines and various contests, make sure they're clean, they're sharp, there's clarity. Yeah, that's about it. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this one, but image quality is a big one. If it's a low quality image, don't submit it. fourth and final key factor I use when selecting images for magazines and contests is animal behavior. If you follow my work long enough, you'll know I'm always looking for those unique moments. I'm not just looking for a nice photo, I want something different. That could be a bear doing something unusual, an eagle actively fishing, or an owl with a bit of a personality, like a head tilt or an interesting pose while preening. My goal over the last 10-15 years has always been trying to get something different than everyone else. And lastly, Canadian Geographic Magazine is probably one of the biggest contests and magazines in all of Canada. Everybody enters. They have a free photo club. You can upload all your images to it. Canadian Geographic is checking it frequently. It's a great way to get your images noticed, maybe get a publication, maybe get shared on their social media, get involved on there, follow their stuff, comment, like, do whatever it takes. Just be an active contributor to Canadian Geographic. That's what I've done over the many years that have led up to 2 cover magazines and Canadian Photographer of the Year. So just a little tip there, plug away at Canadian Geographic's Photo Club. It makes a difference. I'm gonna wrap this up now. I hope some of this was informative in some of the basics in image selection that I use towards submitting my photos for contests and magazines. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to send me an email or comment below. And just a reminder that the 2026 Canadian Geographic Wildlife Photographer of the Year contest is now open. Good luck if you enter, and you never know, you may be the next Photographer of the Year. Bye for now.